nights. If you don't love them, send them back for a full refund. Go to bowlandbranch.com today for $50 off your first set of sheets, plus free shipping with promo code SLEEP. Spelled BOLL and branch.com. That's bowlandbranch.com, promo code SLEEP.
I hate water softeners. I really hate softeners. I hate the thought of lugging salt and that it ruins septic systems. But I hate hard water that causes limescale, which costs thousands in appliance damage and wasted energy.
Stop hating and start loving again with the HydroCare Smart Descaler from Wave Home Solutions. Prevent and eliminate limescale the smart way. No maintenance, no salt, no plumbing required, and better than magnetic wraps. 1 year performance guaranteed. Go to IHateMySoftener.com. IHateMySoftener.com.
This is the ZBS Radio Network. You're
listening to KSCO, serving Moss Landing, Marina, and Piscines.
Good morning, you're listening to AM 1080 KSCO Santa Cruz, FM 104.1, 107.9 San Jose, 95.7 Salinas, KSCO.com. It's 10:05, a beautiful Saturday morning. Let's check in quickly on your traffic. Highway 1, all clear. Santa Cruz to Carmel and back. 17 looks good. North and south between here and Campbell. Maybe one little slow spot there through Los Gatos southbound. 101, heavy south into Morgan Hill. Otherwise, A-OK from Salinas to San Jose and back. Other roadways look good. Your weather will be in for a sunny afternoon. High near 70 degrees. Winds up to 21 miles per hour in the afternoon. Small craft advisory in effect on the Monterey Bay. Tomorrow, like today, sunny in the afternoon with a high near 69. It's 10:06. Up next, the moment you've all been waiting for. It's the man, the myth, the legend, Mike Z with his Saturday Special, KSCO Santa Cruz.
May I ask you a personal question?
Certainly.
What did you have for breakfast this morning?
You know, I'm kind of running on coffee right now.
Really? That's all?
That's it so far.
Is that commonplace?
Yeah, actually, I don't eat much early in the morning. I take a couple vitamins and guzzle down a cup of coffee or two, and then I gear up later on for some food around maybe noon. I'll probably have a tamale and a burrito today.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
that'll be fun.
Yeah,
and
it should
delicious.
be good. What about you? What have you consumed so far this morning?
I'll bet you can guess.
Pork.
That's exactly right.
Not
pork
kosher.
and more pork.
She's not kosher.
However, it was mixed with lentils.
Pork and beans.
No. Well, yeah, it's true. Lentils are beans.
Yeah.
It's true.
Or legumes, maybe more specifically.
Correct.
Uh-huh.
Now, here's the recipe. It's so easy. It's so simple that even I could do it. Okay? I have a crock pot. I have some chicken broth. Mm-hmm. I have a pound of lentils that I got for 99 cents. And I like to keep a stock of those. And I poured the lentils into the crock pot. And then I poured a couple quarts of chicken broth. And then I chopped up a whole bunch of Corralito sausage. What's that? What their top flavor is the cheesy Bavarian, except I get cheesy Bavarian with jalapenos.
Wow.
And I slice it at an angle, right?
Okay.
And then I throw it all in. It must have been 4 or 5 sausages worth of cross-cut, diagonally cross-cut.
It's amazing that you're actually making meals for yourself. I'm really impressed. I did not
That's
see
a
that
side
coming.
of me that you've never known.
Yeah.
Now, 30 years ago back, and beyond back, I used to cook more than I did anything else.
Wow.
Not professionally. I just loved to cook. And then I got too damn busy with the radio station and with, what we're doing up and, So.
Sure.
But it's nice to be able to make what my mother used to call a comida. It was like, just like a is that what it is?
A comida is
comida
meal.
Okay.
Yeah.
But comida to me means, that is literally what it means in Espanol, but I know that. But a comida is something that's hearty and rich, and you have a serving of it, and it's so damn good you got to have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 other servings. And that's what this thing was and it was so easy, and it was loaded with pork.
Wow. So when they say Bavarian sausage, does that mean it's like from Bavaria? Like kind of like the Bavarian Illuminati?
I hadn't thought of that. I'll have to ask them next time I'm out there.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, all right. So you answered my personal question, and there was another personal question that I was going to ask you, but I forgot what it was.
That's all right.
I reserve the right to ask it when I remember it.
I'll be here.
Okay. So now it's time for...
Good morning.
A brighter day is here. Good morning. May we bring you cheer.
We've got time, we've got tunes, we've got time, tunes, and temperature.
Get up and go, it's today, you know, on KSCO Radio.
Okay, we begin today's Saturday special with an acknowledgement, a tribute to Van Amberg. His name was Fred Van Amberg, the greatest TV news anchor of the San Francisco Bay Area in its history, who passed a week ago, Thursday.
Good morning. Now stay right here on KSCO Radio.
I have to do the crossfire music here. There it is. Hopefully we'll talk about this a little more later in the program. But I'm sure there are thousands of you listening now who remember Van Amberg. His real name was Fred Van Amberg. The last name was Van Amberg, but everybody thought that his first name was Van and his last name was Amberg. But it was really Fred Van Amberg. And I don't know, about 8 years ago, almost 9 years ago now, we were treated on this program with a short visit by Van Amberg. Hadn't been heard from in probably, 20 plus years, since 1986. 96, 206, and 208. Yeah, so it'd been 22 years he hadn't been heard from. And the reason we got a call, and it was Van Amberg himself, I knew, because he and I, it turned out, shared a barber. We love to get our hairs cut, coincidentally, at the same place, which is Park Place Barbers at Point Richmond. And Van Amberg was a resident, it turns out, very close to Point Richmond in El Cerrito. And great man. And in fact, the story was broken by 415 Media purveyor Rich Lieberman, who, I see, is on the line here right now with us. So let's bring Rich on. Hey, Rich.
Hi. Good morning.
Yeah, I'm sure you're sad, and thank you for sending me the message, the email or the text message, I guess, that you sent me yesterday.
Yeah, it's quite a shock. In fact, it's funny because I was thinking about him, MZ, just the other day, because they were doing a big tribute to some of the broadcasters of up here in the North Bay area, but and then I got a tip yesterday which is a story unto itself, which I'll tell you about if you're so inclined to want to hear. But
I want to hear everything you know, always.
Well, there are things that were told me. First of all, I did an interview last night after the news had broken. And by the way, I think Van Amberg, KGO TV is seen down in Santa Cruz and Monterey, so it's not like the market down there doesn't know about Van Amberg.
Oh, of course they do. Now, in fact, part of the reason that I have the audience that I had when I was 21 years old, you might not even know this. It's on YouTube. If you just say MZ Cable 7, if you Google, you'll see me. You probably seen that when I was an anchor for the local cable TV thing. The reason we had so much of an audience back then is that we shared cable channel 7. We shared with the real channel 7. So at 5:30 when my live show came on, we had the built-in lead-in audience from Van Amberg. So it was just amazing. But anyway, go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was going to just say a few things. Is that I was able to interview last night Peter Giddings, who of course was the weatherman, the meteorologist, who was amongst the four. They used to call him the Core Four. And this, of course, was when television news in the 70s, there was no internet and there was no the communications sort of thunder that we have today. But these guys set the tone, and Channel 7 in particular, and the news programs at ABC, which owned KGO, was, as I wrote in my column, and Van was the singular sort of author and the actor in this sort of conundrum, was Happy Talk, which I'm sure you're aware of, but I can explain it to the
very
audience.
much. And I think correct me if I'm wrong. Frank Magid and Associates, I think, was the consultant, the news doctor for KGO, yes, and a bunch of other stations. Am I right?
You are correct and absolutely right. And it was that format, and I'll explain it in a minute. A lot of people might know about Happy Talk. And KGO, that news during the 70s, and actually when I was in like my almost infant years, these guys started around 67, 68. And in fact, David Louie, who was also there, he's still at the TV station. He's the Asian American reporter I think he's got about 50 years there at KGO. But anyway, Van Amberg had quite a stay, he was referred to, and this is the first time I've heard it, but at more than one occasion this last couple of last 24 hours, as the Walter Cronkite of Bay Area TV news. And during that era, you had the Patty Hearst kidnapping and trial. You had the SLA terrorist group, which Van, was talking about. You had the whole Harvey Milk and George Moscone murders. You had, of course, the very serious and terrible Jonestown massacre. And Van was singular on those events. Those preeminent 70s events. Van Amberg was there on the desk and wasn't afraid to take on people like Jim Jones and the whole Patty Hearst thing. And
Rich, I agree with you. It's the first time I've ever seen the comparison to Walter Cronkite made within the last. I never heard that. But they used to call him. They in fact, back then, KGO, which was on top of the ratings, KGO TV, because of News Scene and Van Amberg specifically, they used to say that the call letters, like KSCO, they say, it stands for Keeping Senior Citizens Occupied, right? KGO was Killing Guts and Orgasms. That's what they used to say back then. And then, of course, if it bleeds, it leads. You wrote that in your column.
Right. It bleeds, it leads. Right. Well, those days, that was, I'm going to make it's a well-known story, so I could say it. It's a little crude, but they reported on a man's severed penis was found on the highway.
Yeah, and so he did a great tease coming back. He talks about.
Well, there was another one too, MZ. There was one too where and this is a very infamous crime that had occurred at the famous right near KSCO North at the Condor, the famous Condor where Carol Doda performed her wares, so to speak. But,
yes.
There was a murder there, and the headline in one of the papers was, and Channel 7 seized on this, was headless body found in topless bar.
Anyhow,
and then a paper back east, one of the New York tabloids, stole that. During the.
I'm not sure. Right. I'm not sure that they garnered a whole lot of respect, certainly among the peers. But they sure it's sort of like Limbaugh. All his peers, especially the people who are on the opposite end of the political spectrum, they do they respect Rush? I think they sort of do, in the sense that he's remained on top of the ratings for so many years. Am I making a good analogy here?
Yeah, to a degree. I think they acknowledge Rush more than they respect him. I think he's gotten respect a few years ago before the Sandra Foucault incident at Harvard. But back to Van Amberg, and that whole news scene team, they revolutionized the entire news format. And locally at KGO, I mean, they made a lot of money, and they made reporters money. I was talking to your good friend and mine, Tony Russomanno, gave me a call last night, and in one of those clips I put up on 415 Media, in fact, it was Van's last newscast. And
in its entirety, which was great. I enjoyed watching most of that.
Did you see at the very end, did you see a sign-off?
Yeah, of course.
But did you notice how terse and fast it was?
That was him.
And
that was him.
Right. And, and this was told to me by Tony Russomanno, which I had no idea, and I first learned last night, is that Van never looked at the teleprompter. He always looked at his script, his notes down at the desk. So if you go back and look at some of the clips, he's never really looking at the teleprompter. He's looking down at his notes.
Yep.
And not just for show. He honestly didn't like looking into the teleprompter. He thought it was sort of phony, and for this day and age, it'd be kind of heresy to admit that.
And just amazing. What a talent he was.
Yeah. And
good evening. Here's what's happening. And just the words just cascaded like over a waterfall from the beginning to the end of the show.
He was also a radio guy, Michael.
I know.
He was a radio guy, and he also he started out and he born in Fresno in 1910, and came to the Bay Area, did the Oakland Raiders on radio, believe it or not, and then settled into a couple of local radio stations. Then he got the job over at Channel 7. But he was an amazing person in that, he was doing this work for this station that, as you pointed out, if it bleeds, it leads, and all that, and all these characters like Peter Giddings with his polka dot tie and taking little kids out to the fishing boats and having his shaven face when he used to shave be filmed on the Channel 7 cameras. And then you had the great Jerry Jensen, who unfortunately died very tragically, not that you could die untragically, but who died in 1984, had pancreatic cancer. And then Peter Giddings is still alive and living in San Jose. He's 78. And I spoke to him last night and put some quotes up. And John O'Reilly was the sports guy. But these guys made a lot of money, and I mean a lot of money for the news station, and made a lot of money for the reporters working there at KGO, which soon was extended to all these other stations. But Van was, and first of all, for your listeners, his real name was Fred Van Amberg. He went as Van Amberg. And he had a son named Bill Van Amberg, who eventually got to work at the station. But when he left KGO in 1986, it was not a very happy ending. ABC forced KGO to fire him, and they fired two others and saved about $4.5 million in one night at ABC. That was when they were owned pre-Disney, when they were owned by themselves.
Right.
And then, of course, they went into different phases of being owned by Disney and capital cities, etc. But Van became powerful And his real big mission, did he have an ego? Of course he did. But his real mission at the end, when all the stories were breaking out that he was a big jerk, was that he was trying to become managing editor, which he did, and take care of the staff and all the reporters there at Channel. I mean, Tony Russomanno couldn't say this much better. He was there, working there. But Van was interested in taking care of the people that worked either with him or under him, and developed quite a camaraderie with all these reporters. And then you had, the makings of News Scene and Channel 7. And as he became more ingrained there at the station, and it worked on all these stories, these iconic 1970s stories like Patty Hearst and the SLA and all these stories, the Jonestown Massacre and the Milk Moscone murders. Then they're
sure. No, he was great. Rich, let me cut in here for just a second here.
Sure.
We wanna continue the program, and I want this to sort of segue nicely into a discussion of KSCO SF, which is we're about to launch it here, momentarily, and it's going to be a work in progress. But just before we finish, I've got the word out to Jaunty to try to find the Saturday Special where Van Amberg called in. I was going to play that little 4 or 5 minute thing. I haven't been able to reach Jaunty, our director of digital, and the thing is missing. Maybe later on. But here's what I did find. Let me read this real quick. This is the one and only email I received from Van Amberg on June 28th, 2007. Park Place Barber Shop. That's what it says in the subject line. And it's from Fred and Lois Van Amberg.
Right.
Ever since Gene at Park Place handed me your card and said you were a customer, I've had the good intention of letting you know I got it. But that was in May, and here it is almost July. I have been busy. In May, we were heading out of state for 3 weeks, and then June came graduations and trips to LA, etc. However, since I started in radio and worked in and out of it during my career, I've always respected the medium and the people who keep running it, and told Gene and John, those are the barbers, I would make contact if for nothing else than to congratulate you for owning a piece of the American broadcast rock. It's hard to believe it can get better than that. Sincerely, another Park Place satisfied customer, Van Amberg. Pretty cool, huh?
Wow. Pretty cool, and very eerily, that it's almost 10 years to the day when he wrote that. 10 years to the day he passed. He passed away on the 22nd, and on a Thursday, and the June 28th of 2007 was a Thursday, so it's very eerie. But that's a great thing. Look, I'm going to let you continue your program. I just wanted to call in and offer.
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate the fact that you did, and that you broke the story. And onward and upward. Okay. Great.
Hey, have a great day.
You too. Take care. Okay, that's Rich Lieberman, the Rich Lieberman of 415 Media. Now I want to bring you on. It says my guest. It says your guest. Now, your guest. Your name is.
Oh, you got me. It's Fred Glick. How are ya?
Fred Glick. Who is Fred Glick?
Wow.
What a way to put a guest. What a way to put a guest on the. I'll tell you who Fred Glick is, unless you want to tell who Fred Glick is.
No. I want you to do it.
Okay.
I know what I am. I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay. I have known Fred Glick for a grand total of 9 days. I met Fred Glick at a open house on a property that I and my family used to own in Mid-County, and had seen that it had been developed, and I wanted to see how the development turned out, and it's absolutely magnificent. Fred Glick is a real estate broker. He's also a mortgage broker, and most importantly, from my perspective, Fred Glick is a major character with a capital C. And I am actively at work seeking characters for the new MZ project, KSCO SF. Okay, now we've talked about that the last, 2 or 3 times on the Saturday Special. It was the entire topic of the Saturday Special two programs ago, I believe. And just to sort of, refresh each of you, I don't mean to bore you. Maybe I'm beating a dead horse here before it's even alive. But the greatest talk radio station of all time was KGO 810 in San Francisco. They were on top of their game for 3.5 decades. By on top of the game, I'm talking about number one in their market. Top radio station, 12 plus, which is like everybody. It's like the broadest spectrum demographic. For 35 years straight. And the closest second radio station anywhere in the country might have been on top of their game for, the number one station in their market for maybe 1 year, maybe 1.5 years tops. No one came close to KGO. But then on, I think it was December 1st, 2011, the then and current owner of KGO and a number of many other radio stations. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, they're the number 2 owner of radio stations in the United States now, Cumulus Media Corporation. The people running KGO decided that they could save money by firing most of their hosts, the highest paid ones. And they did that. And so they figured they'd save money, which meant they would make more money in the bottom line. But what happened, I guess they didn't figure on if they fired the hosts that made the station what it was, they were changing the station. And the station wasn't what it was ever again. And so that's how we got to be connected with people like Dr. Bill Wattenberg, who's become a very good friend of KSCO's and mine personally. John Rothman, just an amazing person, a broadcaster who is back on KGO now, I think on a fill-in basis, if I'm not mistaken. Anyhow, so KGO went away, and that was 5.5 years ago, and you could have knocked me over with a feather. I never would have guessed that some other mega media company would not have stepped in to reestablish a good live and local arrangement for the San Francisco Bay Area in the realm of talk radio. But it hasn't happened. So it started me thinking, golly, maybe that means I'm elected to do that. And so I started thinking, well, should I go buy a radio station or lease a radio station in the Bay Area? I don't know. I mean, that's a good way to go bankrupt here because it's a steadily declining value asset. The world is headed digitally, which is away from... In fact, it's pretty hard to even buy a radio these days. You can do it, but it's not anywhere near as easily as it used to be. So anyhow, that's what we're planning. We're planning on launching a KSCO type station, and we're going to call it KSCO SF, and it's going to be online, and we'll probably be running it a combination from in the San Francisco Bay Area and here, but it's all going to be from the cloud. And what we're searching for now are characters who can create a KSCO experience except for the Bay Area instead of just for the Monterey Bay Area. And Fred resides in Palo Alto, which is right in the heart of the Bay Area. And he and I have been talking seriously about how he can get involved. And he's... I'll let you talk from here, Fred. You seem to be interested in the concept, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny that we're talking today because one of my other loves, and everyone will find this out, is ice hockey. And today is the signing day, the first signing day for this year's NHL free agent signing period. Or I just said signing too many times. But, yeah, it's it's a wonderful, wonderful idea, and having the ability to use the internet as opposed to just a straight radio station that's FCC regulated. It's kind of funny to me that
well,
the
you
FCC
can say bleep.
regulates radio.
You can say bleep.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, but the same transmission of voice is still going over, just going through the internet instead of a radio. So it's all kind of weird, but we're going to take advantage of it and be able to do a lot more interesting things and have a lot more flexibility. We're not pushed with time constraints like a regular station is, and we can go more long formatted interviews because people will want to hear that. So that's what I think is going to be one of the best things about internet radio is we're not consigned to just, I can only talk to you for 2 minutes, and this person's here just to promote their book. No, we can get anybody we want and do anything and just have a lot of fun.
Well, that's good. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, say something entertaining.
Say something entertaining. Well, first thing, entertaining to the entire hockey world. I'll just get rid of my hockey stuff right away because I've been sitting here on Twitter since about 11:30 this morning, watching the NHL's free agent go on. But the Sharks actually re-signed 2 of their players, Vlasic and Jones, for many, 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 many hundreds of years and many gazillions of dollars. And everybody's still waiting on what.
Wow. Hey, Jason, what's wrong? Now he's overdriving. I don't know what to do here. Yeah, Jason came in here.
I'll stop the hockey talk. Yeah.
Well, I'm not talking, but good. That's good because I think we just lost 90% of our audience right now because most of the people who listen to the Saturday Special don't give a bleep about hockey or sports at all. Yeah. They're sort of nerdy like me, you know.
Yeah, I know. I got it.
But that's okay. But I was talking to Jason about the technical here because you're starting to break up and only after he adjusted something. So.
Okay. I didn't know that wasn't for me. But, what I'm looking for this and to say something interesting is, like, I think there's a period of time coming now where, we're all politically psychotic. And I'm not.
Do you think we can get? Do you think you can get to a landline? This isn't going to work, and I think we're going to have to just dump the whole thing because you're on a cell phone, and the cell phone isn't working with our system today. Can you get to a landline?
Get on a VoIP line and call you. Yeah, okay. I'll call you back.
Okay, good. Thanks. There goes Fred Glick, and hopefully we'll be able to have him on a line that we can engage in and that you can talk to him and so forth here. But in the meantime, follow up on last week. Dr. Kohut, we urged the Judge Salazar to, as did quite a number of demonstrators, as I understand it, at the courthouse on last Wednesday, begged the judge not to allow any bail to be posted, not to let the guy out or create any opportunity for him to be let out in light of the terrible, horrendous charges against him. But he did. Now, I don't know if he's been let out, but he has been given a bail of, I believe it's $6.4 million. And so he can get out if he or someone in his behalf posts $6.4 million. And I predict that if that happens, he will never, ever face trial for his charged crimes. And I think the judge ought to be ashamed of himself. And that's where I'll stop. I mean, that says it all. So that's the update. The judge did what I don't believe he had to do by law. And I think that he created an unnecessary possible danger for the public. Okay. 479-1080 if you want to join the discussion here. Okay.
Personally, I don't understand why he got let out.
Well, he didn't get let out. I mean, maybe he is. I don't know. All I know is that he was allowed they gave him a bail
option.
Yes.
But I don't understand why he even got that. Personally,
Well,
I don't get it.
Dean Sutton and I and you did the program last week, during which Dean said judges are required by law to allow bail to be posted by anyone who's charged of a crime, unless two things happen, unless they seem to be a big flight risk. But that's not it. They need to be a flight risk and a danger to society. And I guess
I could see both.
So can I.
You know,
yeah, to me, it's just a no-brainer.
Me too.
Anyhow, I don't think much of this Judge Salazar because of what he did.
Yeah.
The DA's office was arguing for, well, if you have to set bail, make it just
astronomical.
like $40 million. Sure. And the judge, that offended the judge. He said, "You're just grabbing that based on the story that I read." Okay, I don't have personal knowledge. I'm gonna credit this with the story in the Santa Cruz Sentinel that I read. The judge was offended and said, "You're just pulling that number out of the sky," which he probably was. And so he pulled the number out of the sky, the judge himself, $6.4 million. And maybe the guy, maybe that's too much for the guy, and maybe he'll remain in jail. But the fact that the judge did that and gave any kind of a chance at all for this guy so accused, and we have to keep, he's not declared guilty. He's innocent until proven guilty. But you can be innocent, and how many times have you heard in the news that someone so-and-so is being held without bail?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, you hear about it all the time. And I think this should have been one of those all of the time.
Exactly, me too.
And I don't think there's a person in our listening audience that would disagree with that.
I don't think so.
And if there is, please call 479-1080. We want to hear from you. And we will treat you with dignity and respect, and maybe we'll try to have a civil discussion, like we had a civil discussion between my friend Bob, the bladder cancer victim, who was on his way to a very scary surgical operation, and I hope we will hear from him today with an update, maybe at the top of the second hour or something like that. But Fred is back, and let's put him back on and lock him in here. Okay.
Okay, hopefully this is better.
Oh, way better. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Hey, with this guy that's in prison, the doctor, I would think if they
he's not in prison. He's in jail. He's in jail.
Yeah, I know. But if he did go,
was in jail. I don't know for sure that he's in jail now. Yeah. He might have posted bail and is out now.
Yeah, but they probably will put an ankle bracelet and take away his passport if they did.
Yeah, that was in the story. That was in the story. Yeah. But there are ways, like people get in and out of the country, without passports. They just find a way to do it.
If they have money.
Especially, if you can get on a boat that you can buy or that you can charter. You don't need a passport to go. And I'm willing to bet. I'm willing to bet that if the guy is out, you're never going to see him again. But maybe he won't be out. Maybe $6.4 million was enough money to keep him from getting out. I just think the judge was not. I think he didn't have the interest of the public in his.
Well, all I can say is, as every bit of reporting goes, it's follow the money. What connection does this judge have to any lawyers who are involved in the case, et cetera, et cetera? If someone was to do that, that's what usually happens in these situations. I am not saying that's happening in this situation. But
the question that was asked many, many times, you didn't hear the last program. I mean, you might have heard me talking about it. When we met. Yeah. So maybe you started following the story, but there's a couple of things. My connection with Dr. Kohut is that I visited him with a family member who was in bad shape and needed surgery that he said, "Oh yeah, I can do, no problem." And he made this person, instead of better, 10 times worse, so that the person didn't want to live much longer. That's how much. And so I think the guy's a butcher. And then there was somebody else who he operated on and made much, 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 much worse instead of better. So that was, and then Dominican Hospital ran ads on our station, which we appreciate, but it featured him as a shining example of one of their wonderful doctors. and my better judgment, I didn't want to be a party to passing along in the media 100% bull bleep. That's what it was. So I came down to the station and said, pull that ad, and we'll call Dominicans and tell them why we pulled the ad, and of course we'll adjust the bill. But I was told, no, don't pull the ad. It's going to end anyhow in a day or two. And so I said, well, okay. And I shouldn't have said, well, okay. I should have done what my heart told me. And I had no knowledge of any of this other pedophilia stuff or child rape. Holy Christmas. But so the questions that have been asked about this guy is, how did he how did he go so long hurting people medically and not being called to task or losing his medical license or malpractice or whatever? That's question number one. And the big question that everybody has is these charges about raping children apparently were going on for a long time. And how come no one said anything or did anything about it? And what was it that suddenly made it happen now?
Yeah, well, let's talk about how long the Catholic priests have had issues and how long it took for it to all come out. People get either scared to say anything or they're just intimidated in some way by someone or some institution to not say anything, and they think it's a one-off thing because they don't know the other people. That's part of the problem with these kind of incidents. It's horrible. But what you're talking about, the fact that this guy did some bad surgeries and things, and I think the difference in this world going forward will be people have these bad experiences. It's like going into a restaurant and having a bad meal. You go up on Yelp or Google and you post a bad rating. And if any doctor going forward, let's say, botches surgeries, they're going to be on Google or Yelp or something and saying, this guy's awful, don't use him. And that's going to get these guys away from doing bad things sooner. Let's hope.
Yeah, hopefully.
But that's the way I see it. In addition, everybody just talk about it. Come out. If anything happens to you, anything happens to your children, let the authorities know.
Right.
Because it's not just going to hurt your kid. He's going to hurt every kid.
Right.
That he can try to get a hold of, these kind of guys.
Okay.
So
now I received quite a number of emails. Let's see. I wonder if I can find it. Yeah, the evil doctor here. Here's something that I received this week in the mail. It's from Jacob, and it says, the evil doctor. Good morning. I urge you to have your many guest hosts refrain from trying this doctor guy on the radio. I listen often, and this guy is being tried and found guilty on your great station, which could affect his trial. Thanks and God bless. And that's from Jake. So, I emailed back, Jake, thanks for your kind words and important suggestion. But then I said, what exactly would you like me to do? Prohibit any discussion of this major local news story on KSCO, KOMY? That's not going to happen. What we can, should, and will do is ask the hosts to repeatedly remind the audience that Kohut is innocent until proven guilty, just like every other person accused of a crime in our society. And
right.
So
and
that's
what,
but anyhow, I'm happy that he took the time to write this email to me, because we got to catch ourselves, and maybe I've engaged in a little bit of it myself here. I mean, I on this program, although I feel very strongly that the judge made a terrible, terrible mistake by
the biggest
granting bail.
I think what that person was writing an email about, I think also was about jury selection, and you don't want to tamper that. So, but could always bring a jury in from, I don't know, Sacramento to try the case, which wouldn't be a bad idea because this is such a high-profile situation. And you want this guy to get a fair trial. And, we don't know what the evidence is and all that. But you do have to, keep your area engaged and make them understand in detail what's going on here. So you have to talk about it.
Right.
So, yeah, and it's alleged. You're absolutely right, but that's the reason we talk about it. You could bring a jury in from somewhere else.
Okay. Enough of that subject. Let's you and I talk about KSCO SF. Let's talk about what people like and what people like in mass. And I'm interested if there's anybody listening right now under the age of 50 to this radio program. Please, you don't have to go on the air. Please call 479-1080 and let us know that you're listening if you're under 50. I don't expect any phone calls, or maybe a few.
We really need them to tweet us, but we'll get the Twitter account rocking and rolling soon, too.
Right. See, nobody's calling yet, so maybe nobody's listening to us at all. Do you think it's possible, Jason? Do you think it's possible that I have successfully driven away what small audience we've had on the Saturday Special? Jason?
No, I don't think it's possible.
You don't think that's possible?
We have a lot, thousands of people out there.
Well, where are the callers? People are always telling me, MZ, you shouldn't gauge, the listenership from the number of calls. I'm sorry, that's what I do, and that's what I'll always do. If there are no callers, I assume there are not very many listeners. There, now the phone's ringing, but it's only one.
That's a start. Hey, it's a nice Memorial Day. I know Memorial Day. I'm really pushing it.
Independence Day
nice
weekend.
July 4th weekend. Right. So who knows where everybody is? Hopefully it's a nice beach day today.
Okay. Now, Jason, they didn't want to go on the air.
They said, sorry, wrong number. But here we go. We're getting some calls right now. The phones are blowing up, in fact.
Oh, they are? Oh, okay, good. I told them that if they didn't want to stay. Fred, damn it, will you say something that'll piss people off? Which just behave like you normally are, okay? Which got me interested in you and putting you on the radio in the first place. And you're just so docile now, and you're making me. You're putting egg on my face here. People are just say something, do something crazy that'll make people call. I'm putting it all on you. Fred, are you there?
I'm at twice.
Oh, wait a second. I had you shut off there. Go ahead. Repeat.
You want me to say something controversial?
I just want you to be you. You're not being you. Okay. You're just being a plain old ordinary dull person on this broadcast, and you need to get your real personality showing.
Okay. Well, let me start with this to let your audience know. I voted for Barack Obama twice and Hillary Clinton this time. Okay, that's enough, right?
Why did you do such a thing? And by the way, I'm not arguing with you. I'm just engaging you. That's all.
I just didn't agree with what the other side offered me.
Oh.
And I look at these things, and let me just talk politically. I'm a political scientist. I take all the emotion out of politics, and I love just seeing it's another sport. It's the NFL, just has to do with politicians as opposed to football players. But the bottom line is, and what got me questioning Trump's whole thing about I'm going to bring these jobs back. When he said, I'm going to bring jobs back in West Virginia to coal miners, I worry about the people who are the coal miners. And I'm saying to myself, these guys, you're going to force more people back into a mine where this coal is just going to go into their lungs and they're going to get sick. Why instead, and this is kind of the other side of the fence, why haven't they been training people to, say, build robots to collect coal? I'm not against coal. I'm against people collecting coal. And I look for more of the innovation. I look down in the future. You can't go backwards. And I think in the end, we're not going to be able to get coal jobs back, and people are going to get upset. So there's a start.
Okay, good. That is a start. Thank you. Now we have a number of callers on right now. Let's go to Renee in Aptos. Renee, welcome to the Saturday Special with MZ and Fred Glick himself in person.
The Fred Glick.
Yeah.
Renee,
wait, Renee, where are you, Renee? Renee?
Hi, I'm here.
Hey.
Okay, Fred, let Renee talk. Go ahead, Renee, talk.
Hi, Michael. I just wanted to really thank you. This isn't regarding now, but last weekend on Dr. Kohat.
Yes.
And I really wanted to thank you for what you've done.
Well, it sure didn't have much effect, did it? God.
Oh, I think it did.
Really?
People are being aware.
Oh. Okay.
Also, too, I was a patient of his.
Oh.
A little over 12 months ago.
Do you care to share what happened? Do you care to share the details?
Well, I went to him a number of times because I was sent to him because I have a non-cancerous brain tumor at the moment. But due to the fact I had cancer a few months before I went to see him, and I had to have surgery to deal with the cancer that was up by my neck, which is up by my brain. After all the visits, I just felt really super weird and strange, and he gave me the creeps. You know.
So you had already stopped. You had already. What did you say? What?
He was staring at my breast, and I got a really weird feeling from that as well. And then on the last visit, he said, "I'll see you in 4 years." Well, I talked to a doctor about a few weeks ago, and he said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "What?" And he says, "You have a non-cancerous brain tumor, and he wants to see you in 4 years when you have 2 symptoms of it already?" He said the normal thing would have been to see you every 6 to 12 months to determine if they have to do surgery or not.
Wow. Okay. Well.
Amazing. You know what's really upsetting? The fact that how many people didn't get into medical school because they finished behind a guy like this, and a guy like this takes the place of somebody who really wanted to be a doctor. That's what drives me nuts. It's a big competition to get in.
Drives me nuts too.
You know? Yeah, it's sad. It's really sad.
Hey, Renee, thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing your experience. Thanks for calling the Saturday Special. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and I hope you can keep us updated on.
Oh, we certainly will. We certainly will. And I hope it's, I hope he remains in jail until his trial, which we hope will be speedy because he deserves that, as does everybody. Thanks, Renee. Appreciate your call to 479-1080. We invite other callers. We've got about 3 minutes left until the top of the hour news break, but we invite all the callers who might want to call. We usually get most of the callers in the second hour anyhow. But Leah driving to Alameda. You're on KSCO with Fred and MZ.
Hi, Michael. How are you today?
Pretty good. Good.
I'm just, when I turned you on and you asked if anyone was listening out there. I love KSCO. I'm Leah, but I also have another name. I'm Mrs. A from Mrs. A Salsa Buena.
Okay.
I'm actually driving to Alameda for a demo. We're exploding right now with salsa sales for the 4th of July, which is awesome.
Oh, yes.
But I am so thankful for KSCO. When I drive to school in the morning, I listen to Rosie, and when I get in the car after a long day, I listen to Flight 10. If I'm in my car on Saturday, I'm listening to you. And I just really, really appreciate your station. I have to tell you that it probably, I don't remember when, it could have been a month ago because weeks go by so fast. I mean, you were doing a show about being positive. Do you remember that?
Sure. Yeah,
yes,
and we've sunk back. We've slid back into being negative since then.
Well, how can you not in this crazy world? I mean, if you really, listen and read and think about everything that goes on, it's crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So, but that Saturday that I was listening to you, you should see my dashboard right now. It has color-coded Post-it notes all over it because my life is so crazy.
Uh-huh.
And I have, pay your bills tonight, get some dog food, call Libby. Make a chicken pot pie for the receiver at New Leaf, Santa Cruz, because he just had twins. And next to that is, when I listen to your show, is try to be positive with a little smiley face. And that has been on there, on my dashboard, since I listened to your show. And it really has changed my life. When I get crazy and I get so busy, I look at that little Post-it note, and it just turns me around.
Wow. Hey, that's great. Boy,
Super.
You made my day.
Thank
Mine
you.
too.
Well, you made my day. You've really kind of changed my attitude about being grumpy and getting so down on myself when things get so crazy in my life.
All right. So the proper pronunciation of your name is Leah or what is it?
It is Leah.
Leah, okay.
And yes, and I've been a teacher for 36 years. I teach ceramics, and so I've also been Mrs. A for all of those years. All of my students, and now with the salsa business, I'm Mrs. A.
All right. Hey, well, all the best to you, and one of these days we'll have to have a salsa party here at the KSCO patio.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I make the best tacos.
Don't forget
I
the
make the
tequila,
best
though.
salsa.
Okay, great. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye.
That opens up a line at 479-10. But not really, because we got, is the clock right? 10 seconds? 10 seconds. Okay. You're listening to KSCO Santa Cruz, Salinas, Monterey, San Jose. It's 11 a.m. Here is CBS News.
You're listening to KSCO.
There it is.
CBS News, I'm Jim Taylor. After hours at a Little Rock nightclub, 25 people wounded by gunfire.
Based upon the number of individuals that were injured, I would say that it probably would be multiple shooting suspects.
Kenton Buckner, police chief of Little Rock, where violence on the rise. KHTV reporter Winnie Wright.
There's been about 10 drive-by shootings in the last week and a half, we'll say. And a lot of people have been calling to end the violence. I mean, there's just call after call to end the violence. Little Rock police have a police shortage. There's questions about, is this a police issue? Is this a private building security issue?
Police believe road rage caused the death of a young woman near Philadelphia. CBS News correspondent Jim Axelrod says 18-year-old Bianca Roberson shot in the head.
Roberson and the man were merging into a single lane on a road in the town of West Goshen, 25 miles west of Philadelphia. West Goshen Chief of Police Joseph Gleason.
This homicide was completely senseless, brutal, and tragic.
After she was shot, Roberson's car veered off the road, crashing into a tree. The driver is described as a man of medium build, 30 to 40 years old, with blonde or light brown hair. The truck is described as a red, faded pickup.
At All Points Bulletin for that vehicle. President Trump now suggesting a repeal, replace later strategy for health care reform. On CBS this morning, Saturday, Margot Sanger-Katz covers health care for the New York Times.
This is an idea that is premised on the further idea that they would be able to come up with some kind of solution, some kind of replacement bill separately, but it's an awfully risky strategy because if all they can do is vote out this repeal bill, then there are a lot of very negative consequences that would flow from that.
Says the Congressional Budget Office looking into this option. Repeal of its own would break the insurance market, leaving 18 million more Americans without insurance next year, and premiums would double. FBI believes she was kidnapped and killed, a Chinese scholar visiting the University of Illinois. And now an Illinois man is charged. WBBM Radio's Bob Roberts.
The affidavit filed against Brent Christensen says he was at the wheel of the Black Saturn that Ying Zhang entered June 9th. The FBI says agents who had Christensen under surveillance overheard him saying that he kidnapped Zhang. Based on this and other facts agents have uncovered, they believe she is dead. The FBI says it has notified Zhang's family, the Chinese consulate, and the University of Illinois of the arrest and of the evidence in the FBI's possession. Christensen goes to court Monday in Urbana.
Long lines in Las Vegas.
I've been pushing very aggressively for the last 2.5 years, so to finally see this moment is amazing.
Matt Morgan, he's the CEO of Reef Dispensaries. Today, Nevada becoming the 5th state to legalize marijuana.
friend of mine's birthday. We found out about this. This is super historic. We got to be here for this. This is crazy.
You're listening to the winner of the Edward R. Murrow Award. This is CBS News.
I'm Scott Tannen, founder of Boll & Branch, where you can get the world's most comfortable sheets for less than half of what you'd pay in the store. Our sheets are made from 100% organic cotton and get softer over time. Even 3 U.S. presidents have Boll & Branch sheets. Try them for 30 nights. If you don't love them, send them back for a full refund. Go to bollandbranch.com today for $50 off your first set of sheets, plus free shipping with promo code SLEEP. Spelled B-O-L-L and branch.com. That's bollandbranch.com, promo code SLEEP.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-501-3689 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-501-3689 for your free author submission kit. Again, 800-501-3689.
She is one of the most popular singers in the world, but she is not singing now.
Adele has canceled her 2 final concerts at London's Wembley Stadium after doctors warned she could do irreparable damage to her vocal cords if she went ahead. This after 2 sellout shows Thursday and Friday. Posting a message online, Adele apologizes for disappointing nearly 200,000 fans, but says her condition is so severe she doesn't believe she'd be able to last even another performance. This comes at the end of a grueling 123-day global tour, which Adele has already said could be her last. Larry Miller, CBS News, London.
Sexual assault, sadly, seems to extend to every little place in our society. A coach with the ruling body of British archery suspended following a BBC report of a complaint to police over an alleged sexual assault on a young female para-athlete there. I'm Jim Taylor, CBS News.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to KSCO on AM 1080, FM 104.1, 107.9, San Jose 95.7, Salinas, KSCO.com, ZBSradio.com. And you may also be viewing us on YouTube, where we are streaming live video right now at the KSCO Global channel. KSCO Global. Check it out. It's 11:05. We'll check in quickly on your traffic as the computer freezes up. Well, okay, here we go. Looks like roadways looking good. Highway 1, all clear from Aptos through Santa Cruz. Maybe just a little bit of a slowdown there as you pass 41st Avenue southbound. Good. All the way through Santa Cruz and Monterey County. 68 looks good. 101. A little bit of heavy stuff there southbound into Morgan Hill. And again, up the road as you pass the 156. 17 heavy southbound through Los Gatos. Backed up to Campbell. Otherwise, roadways good. Weather, we'll have a sunny afternoon. A high near 69 here in Santa Cruz, hotter inland. We'll have patchy drizzle tonight and tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's high, 68 degrees here in Santa Cruz. It's 69 degrees here at the KSCO studios. And I want to remind everybody, you can get those longevity products. We have a great supply of fantastic health products. You don't want to miss out. If you haven't already picked up your Tangy Tangerine, Healthy Start Pack, Pollen Burst, you need to get these products in your body. This stuff is not optional. It's essential stuff that you need to live and survive. It's 11:07. It's time now for hour 2 of the Saturday Special with your host, Michael Zwirling.
And did you say that Dave is here himself?
That's right. Dave is here.
In person at the Dave Cave, and he'll be here, I think, until 2. I went and talked with him to get his approval about where how it's going so far. You know, because Dave is my hero here. I mean, he does such a good job on Flight 1080 that, you know, I'm hoping he'll consult with me on how to make my show good, you know, at least a passable show.
Yeah, and what was his review?
You haven't got it right yet.
Well, he's too nice a person, but I could tell what he was thinking. You know, No. Actually, we were talking about where the discussion is leading and how let's see, Leah, the last caller of last hour, sort of made my day when she after saying a bunch of nice things about the radio station, she said something extra nice. And that is that she was listening to a recent Saturdday Special. It was 2 or 3 weeks ago, where I sort of threw up my hands and said, why are we even engaging in so much? We're part of the problem by being so damn negative when we could do a better job of steering people into positivity rather than negativity. And that really got to her. And she says it had a positive impact on her life. And that's had her saying that has had a positive impact on my life, and has
contagious.
Yeah, and it sort of made me think that we should sort of go back in that direction, and every opportunity we can to let people know that they should try to be positive, not negative. For example. When I hear people say terrible things about our wonderful president, and I'm not tongue in cheek now. I think he's coarse and he's crass and he's crude. There's no question about it. But he's the real deal. He's the real deal. When they're having nervous breakdowns over his latest tweet that said something that was very low class. I mean, there's no question about it. It was classless. But I hadn't followed that. I didn't know that this is what they're attacking him every minute. The same person that he said terrible things about. It's just a reaction. Now, maybe it would be good if the president could turn the other cheek like Christ would have done. Maybe that might be a good thing for him to learn to do. That might be a good thing for all of us to learn to do. I'm Jewish, but it's nice. But so was Christ a Jew, and so why can't I turn the other cheek? Well, that's what I try to do whenever something upsets me. I'm not always successful, but if we can have that kind of a positive effect on people who are listening on the radio, I think we will have done a good thing. And I don't want to do bad things. Certainly, I would never do anything bad consciously, but we might be doing some bad things unconsciously. And what am I talking about? Well, by not running the radio station in a way that elevates discussion rather than brings it down to the gutter level and below, to the sewer level.
Agreed.
Okay? And so I was talking to Dave, and I know that's where he wants to go, and that's what he wants with Flight 1080. He wants to be a positive influence on people's lives and not dwell on negativity. And I think we should do more of that on the Saturdday Special and more of that on KSCO in general. More of a Good Morning Monterey Bay type attitude, which is pretty much apolitical, right?
We should just all have pictures of Rosie in front of us all the time because she's just got that happiest look on her, and that'll do it. That'll help us all.
Well, you could be right. But, and then I felt bad because in talking to Dave, because then I just flashed back on what I did in the closing minutes of last hour. I got all over you for being too boring when I'm trying to introduce you as someone that that's a high energy type character, and I pressed you to say something controversial or something that would evoke reaction. Yeah. And you did. You came right out, and the phone started ringing then, but then we had the break. So people, they get tired and they don't want to wait through the break. So
Right.
now it's just you and me again, Fred. And here, on the one hand, I'm tempted to ping you and try to get you going like I've gotten to know you in the last week, and to get our audience to get to know you. And then I'm thinking, wait a second, that's sort of irresponsible, because I'm sort of proliferating what in my heart I know I don't want to proliferate any longer. And that's angst and negativity.
Well, you know what? I felt that the combination of the two things that happened, it also clicked in my brain. I mean, yeah, I'm going to say what's on my mind, and I'm going to say things that I hope are fact-based, non-emotional, and can just have a discussion and maybe even come to a conclusion that maybe the left and the right can meet in the center every once in a while on some things. So believe me, there's things I agree with on the left and on the right. I'm not like right out of the.
But why do we have to even? Why does everything become right and left? Civility is gone. Can't you have civility on the right and the left in a right and left discussion, and civility in other discussions? Also?
Yeah, and I'm going to give you a good example of all this. And I'm sure most of your listeners don't listen to MSNBC, and you chide me for doing it, but I
don't. I'm only kidding. Come on, you know that. I want people.
You razz me.
Yeah.
I know. But here's the thing. MSNBC just hired a woman named Nicole Wallace. And if you remember the movie that came out called Game Change, that was mostly about Sarah Palin. You remember that movie a few years ago?
No.
Well, oh, okay. Well, some of your people might remember it. She was put in charge of the communications for Sarah Palin. Needless to say, she was a good Republican. She worked for W for years as his communications director. She ran communications at the White House for George W. Bush, who was not liked by the Democrats, okay? She now has her own show on MSNBC, and she just brings out logic and tells people the stories of what's really going on and what she knows from her experience, what should go on. And it's really interesting. If you are a Republican who likes Trump, I would say go and listen to her. Some people are portraying these type of moderate Republicans as being, what do they call it, the dark state or some kind of name for them?
Deep state, yeah.
Deep state. But these are the people that 5 years ago the Democrats were arguing with, and now those people are saying, okay, let's bury the hatchet and come up with some ideas to work together. I mean, there's some great ideas out there for health care. And by the way, this is not about health care. This is about health care insurance, period. That is all we're negotiating about. We're not talking about health care. We're talking about the delivery of insurance. There have been some great ideas. I'll give you one idea that's been floated around, where anybody 50 years old or over...
Why is it doing that?
Yeah, do I just win a prize?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think
it's just, I don't even... The damn... I can turn it down. No.
It's live radio, you know?
The mouse doesn't work, so I can't even turn it off. Here. There, I can turn it. I can turn the volume down, but the damn. Yeah, I just don't know what happened. Okay, now I can turn it off.
All right, but anyway, as I was saying, talking about healthcare, there's an idea being floated out there where if you're 50 years old or over, you just get slotted into Medicare. But until you're either 62 and a half or 65, when you normally get full benefits, you actually pay a premium. Now, everybody's going to say, oh, it's a government-run agency, and it's crazy. But it's already there. It's been there for 35, 40, 50 years, however long it's been there, and they have a process. And, yes, it needs to be retuned. And maybe the idea is we do something like that, but we do a public-private partnership where a tech company comes in and completely redoes all the technology for the government. And then we get professional people to come in and help run it as opposed to the government service people. So everybody's kind of happy. And this way, the insurance companies only have to insure people under 50. So that takes out a gigantic block of people they were going to raise, 2, 3, 4 times, tens of thousands. Some stupid report said $30,000 a month for insurance. That's just crazy. But there's solutions out there, and we do need to talk about them. I'm no expert in this. I'm just telling you what I've heard, and in theory it works. We get a CBO study on that. But that's the thing. You got one set of people who want one thing and one set of people who want another, and they're sticking to their guns, and that's the problem. You've got to negotiate.
Can't we all just get
a big
along?
circle there.
Who said that? Rodney King said it. Okay, listen, Fred, stand by here. I think I know why that jingle, that music came on. It was the computer's way of telling me that I've strayed from the format, and I shouldn't do that ever.
You're going to get in trouble with the boss.
Yeah. So here, let's do that. We're supposed to start hour number 2 with this jingle. So let's do it.
Hit it.
Oh, hello, darling. I hate to hang up on you, but I'm sorry, baby, but I have to go. It's time for that wonderful record show. I'd love to visit, but you'll have to call back. KSCO has the inside track.
Okay, now I feel much better. I'm energized. I feel like we're really doing the Saturday Special, right? Yeah, and I didn't do it, and so it did it itself.
I'm sorry, baby, but I really gotta go to KSCO Radio. Bye.
John in Aptos.
Hey, MZ, how are you?
Good, John. How are you? What a pleasant surprise.
Hey, I got a real positive chore I need you to do for me.
Okay.
Quite a while ago, I brought down my classical guitar CD for Dave, but he's really not interested in that kind of music.
Uh-huh.
So I wondered, do you think you could look around the studio for it? I think it's still down there. I'd like to come and get it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, hopefully, if he's not with a customer, he's probably listening to us now.
Oh.
But we'll try to Jason, maybe you're in the studio. Maybe you could look around for John's CD.
Mm-hmm. This would be a very positive.
Did you didn't hear that reaction, did you, John? Because you can't.
No,
The way
I
this
didn't.
is right here, I'm gonna push the button and do that reaction again, Jason.
Yeah, I'll look for that.
There. You could tell he wasn't very enthusiastic. Okay, listen,
No.
John, I love you. We love all the listeners and especially the callers, and you're both right. But here's the thing: people come and they leave things unsolicited for us.
Right.
Now, if we solicit it, if we asked you to do it, and you bring it down, then we're nothing but irresponsible if we don't, keep it in a precious place and, so that we can give it back to you when you want it. But so many people leave books for me that I didn't ask for, leave DVDs or CDs or something. And then they call a month or two later and they said, well, I'd like to get my whatever it was back. And I said, well, I don't know what you're talking about. And then they get mad at me. Because it's sort of like I know you're not. I know you're not mad, but it sort of it was a good segue for me to say that. I mean,
I had no idea you got that much stuff from people.
Well, I don't get a whole lot, but I get enough that I feel sensitive when people are irritated with me for not being more respectful of unsolicited material that people leave for me. I mean,
Well, that's the key word, unsolicited, man.
Think about it,
Yeah, heck yeah.
So
Well,
anyhow,
I'll pop down
we'll
there.
try to do that. Yeah, if you're in Aptos, you're not too far away, and you should
Yeah.
come down. I'll tell you what. That's a good idea. In fact, Dave is. I haven't seen Dave in a better deal-making mood in, let's see, about 2 months since our sales started plunging here at the radio station, and he's definitely in a deal-making mood now. So if you've been thinking about coming down here, I mean, you never know. I mean, you never know what. It all depends on Dave's mood. If he likes you,
Timing is everything, but I'm a positive guy. Maybe there's something I can do to help you guys out because I love your station.
Oh, that would be great. That would
Yeah.
be great. Okay, John and Aptos, thank you for calling 479-1080. And
Down-
that
down
opens
the
up a
road. No,
line,
right.
and we have Pure Heart on next, who wants to talk about Kohut. But what about poor Fred Glick? He's just, it's like everyone's forgotten about Fred. Doesn't anybody want to talk to or about Fred? 479-1080 in area
They
831.
haven't had enough coffee. They probably haven't had enough
Hi, Mr.
coffee.
Glick.
Hey, thank you. Hi.
You know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to put people on different pots here. Okay, go ahead, Pure Heart.
Okay. My neighbor had her back operated on by Dr. Kohut, and she's been in constant pain ever since, and she's waiting to get well enough to do it again with some other doctor to fix whatever he did. So, do you see a pattern here?
Yeah, that's what happened to.
And as far as switching
My-
to content for KSCO SF, I think Luigi would be a perfect high energy guy to have on there.
Who is the highest energy person on KSCO?
Currently, it's Luigi.
Who's
He's
the
almost-
second highest energy
Oh, Michael
person?
Zwirling, of course.
Really?
Oh, I don't really know. Have all the people there. I would say perhaps Alex Darnell. He's pretty passionate, high energy, but I
Do
would say,
you think that that if I hang out with Luigi, that some of his high energy could rub off on even me?
I think not, because it never worked for me and my friends. It's just sort of you are what you are, and that's the way it goes. You
Right.
can try for a while. And as
Okay.
far as Mr. Glick goes, I don't know enough about him yet.
Well, Fred is a super high energy person, but none of
Ah.
it is coming out today. That's
well,
for
he's
sure.
on the spot. You have to give him
I
a
know.
break
You're
here.
right.
But,
You're right.
And you
Yeah, I haven't smoked enough weed, probably. That's all.
Okay. Like the traffic.
So are you one of those people where if you smoke weed, it gives you more energy instead of mellows you out?
Well, MZ, you're not listening to your own radio station's medical marijuana show. You would know the difference between sativa and indica. Sativa is a brand and of the way they grow it, so that it gives you all this energy and sparkle to yourself, or the indica just mellows you out, dude, and you go to sleep with it. So there's different types of weed.
I see.
So there you go.
I did a recording. I did a video recording in 1974 for Cannabis Sativa L, and it was in front of Judge Charles Franich's court, and that was and I learned that there was a difference in Cannabis Sativa L. The guy was using the argument that because he was caught smoking that particular variety, he should be immune from prosecution.
Well, thanks for reminding me about doctors. Judge Salazar, the Constitution requires no excessive bail to be set, etc. So he's kind of stuck in a hard place there.
Which I think was the point of Dean Sutton, my attorney friend who was on with me last week.
Yeah, that's why you can't have people disappear in prison forever and things like that. Supposedly,
Yeah.
those poor
Hey.
people I forgot the name. That prison in Cuba. And those poor people stuck there, just
Guantanamo Bay.
Guantanamo. People's neighbors turn each other in if their enemies, and they get stuck in there, and there they are. It's a horrible story there.
So
Anyway,
I
thank you.
shouldn't be as critical of Judge Salazar as I am. Is that what you're saying?
From what I know of him, and I know a little bit, he's really a good, dedicated guy, and does his darn best. But anyway,
Okay, well I'm happy you called in to say that.
He's stuck in a hard place there.
But I think the law, as I understand it now, from talking with Dean and doing that 2-hour show last week, yes, you do have to set bail, and you have to set it not too high, unless.
Right.
Oh wow! Oh, this is great.
So I'm going to duck out of here and say thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very
follow
much
the
for
case.
calling 479-1080. And our next caller is Jim in Marina. Hi, Jim. Welcome to KSCO at the Saturday Special with Fred Glick and MZ.
Hello, MZ. Hello, Mr. Glick. I just
please call me
heard...
Fred, dude.
Okay,
I'm not
Fred.
old enough to be Mr. Glick.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, I heard you say that you supported Hillary Clinton in the last election, and I'm just curious to know, after all this big deal over collusion with Russia, supposed collusion with Russia.
Cell phone going bad, Jim. If you can call back from a better place, that would be a lot better, because we're getting every sixth word now. Next caller, Steve in Aptos. Steve, best KSCO host.
Yeah, okay. Michael Zerling, hey, thank you. Thanks for taking my call. Currently, the best talk show host on AM radio is a guy named Buck Sexton. He comes on at 6 p.m. on the other station. However, the reason I'm bringing up Buck Sexton is he is setting the new standard for excellence in thoughtful radio. The guy is 35 years old. He's super educated. He's worked for the NYPD. He's worked for the CIA. He's worked for the government.
You say he's on KOMY?
Michael Savage, who's a great addition to KOMY, is on that station.
Right.
And Buck sort of crisscrosses him over on Power Talk. But I'm not.
Wait a second. First of all, we weren't talking about best. I just said highest energy KSCO. I didn't ask for who you think the best host is. We
okay. Well, as far as can I finish? I want to say also that my favorite host is Charles Friedman. I think he is really interesting and energized. I love listening to Charlie a lot, and I like Georgia, even though you don't like her that much.
I love Georgia. She's great. What are you talking about? Why would you say I don't like Georgia?
Well, I've heard that there's been a lot of controversy about Georgia, and I can sort of understand why. But
what does that have to do with my not liking Georgia? I like Georgia. I love Georgia. She's fantastic.
I
met
pray I
Georgia
don't want to
yesterday,
lose
and we don't agree politically, but yeah, Georgia's great.
Even Fred knows Georgia.
Michael, will you take a listen to Buck Sexton sometime?
Sure.
He actually does guest host, filling in for Rush.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
No, as far as Alex Jones goes, he's entertaining, but I don't listen to him. He grates on my nerves.
Well, Alex, we're looking for what to replace Alex with.
What?
That's why I brought up Buck Sexton.
Okay.
I don't know, MZ. I don't know.
Thanks a lot, Michael. Have a great weekend.
Okay, you bet. Thank you for calling, Steve in Aptos. 479-1080 if you want to call in. It looks like I'm checking the email. Oh, did you say you've got it all queued up? You want to do that interview? How long is it?
Actually, I don't know how long it is. I've got it at the beginning right now.
Oh.
Just where he starts talking.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, we're talking. So I said that we would do this if we could find it. And Jonty has found it for us, and he's sent it over to Jason. So let's go ahead and play that here for a while with Van Amberg and me 9 years ago.
Last time I was on the air was with Ron Owens.
Uh-huh.
It was it's been a few years now, but we were doing a thing at the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, and we wanted to promote it, and so I went over and did a little thing there. But, yeah, it's true. I haven't been on. But it's interesting just sitting here listening just now about the traffic patterns in the Salinas Valley. In 1959, I was at KSBW. And I did both radio and TV for John Cohen at that time.
Uh-huh.
And we were always at odds and stuff because I had my own ideas about what kind of music I wanted to play and all of that. And Foy Willing, who was the head of the Sons of the Pioneers, the singing group, I don't know if you even remember that.
No, I don't remember that.
Okay,
but, yeah.
Foy Willing was a big star, and John Cohen brought him in as general manager.
Oh.
And Foy and I didn't get along at all. So I'm coming up for vacation, and I'm not making any money. We have 3 children, and my wife and I have decided that we're going to leave Salinas because it's just we're number one. We were number one at that time.
Now, there was a KSBW radio and KSBW TV. No, that was
yeah,
that
they
right?
were in the
Yeah,
same
that was.
building
Right.
on John Street there, and I don't know.
It's KSBW is still TV is still located at 238 John Street.
I'll
believe
be
it or not.
darned. Same old studios then.
Well, I think they're updated a little bit, but
yeah. Well, it was funny because I went in and said that I want to take I need my check in advance, my vacation check in advance, and Foy Willing looked at me and he said, closed the door and said, look, I'll give you your vacation check in advance if you promise never to come back. And he didn't know that we had already packed and we were going to L.A. I get a phone call when I got home from San Francisco saying, hey, we're really interested in you at Channel 5. And so in just that short period of time, I went from KSBW to KPIX.
Wow.
As sports and special events director.
Uh-huh.
And so I was at KPIX. Now you had Hilly Rose on. I listened to just a tiny part of that.
Uh-huh.
But in '65, I was on KFRC radio. By this time, I had been fired again, and I left KPIX, and I'm over at KFRC doing the morning show.
Uh-huh.
And the Beatles come to town, and the Hilton. And I'll never forget that because it was, it was a big deal. And the town went crazy. And Hilly did get that exclusive interview when they were out at the at Candlestick. And so anyway, I'm just going back over.
So you've been in radio and TV. You started in radio, I presume, right? Because most
started
TV
in radio
guys did, right?
at KYOS, but I really got started at the top. To tell you the truth, I was at SF State. I was graduating from SF State, and I got chosen as one of 5 seniors across the country who would work with the NBC Radio and Television Network to do the 56th convention at the Cow Palace for the Republicans, the Republican convention.
Right.
And I was going to be, I simply was a guy who would go get somebody when they were wanted on the phone, because in those days you didn't have cell phones or any of that. So we had a phone bank. And I was also going to doing one last class in summer school, and that put me late one day, and I got jumped on by Davidson Taylor, who was the vice president of public relations for NBC, and I fought back a little bit, thinking this was it. I had explained to everybody I was going to be late and all this stuff. Anyway, he comes back to me in the afternoon and said, we're no longer going to use you as a page, which is what I was doing. We're going to send you to the airport, and we're giving you a fleet of new Oldsmobiles and a list of the NBC people who will be coming in from the convention in Chicago, and you will meet them, greet them, put them in their cars, get them to their hotels, da-da-da-da-da. So that sounded okay, so I go out to the airport, and in that thing, I meet Huntley Brinkley, who had just been put together. And they're coming in from Chicago, and they had done well with the ratings, and they were very happy. And I get them in their cars and get them to their hotels and stuff. And the last person that I meet is H.V. Kaltenborn, who at that time was the dean of commentators on radio and television. And he was in his 80s. He had just gotten back from Korea, where he flew in an F-80 jet, and just a really dynamic guy. But he was at the end of his career. Am I taking too long?
No,
okay.
I'm glued. Come on.
Okay, the end of his career, and NBC, somebody in NBC had chosen to leave him out of the top hotels, and they had him at the Bellevue. So anyway, I have this list, and I said, "Oh, hi, Mr. Kaltenborn, Mrs. Kaltenborn, how are you?" I said Fred Van Amberg, and I'm your host and greeter, and I will be getting you a car. I have it waiting for you. I'll get you to the hotel. You're going to be at the Bellevue. And he stopped, and he said, Bellevue? We stay at the Fairmont. And he said, and you get us you make sure we're not getting in that car until we're at the Fairmont, because he knew what was going on, too, and he wasn't going to have any part of it. So I said, oh, my God, well, let me make a call. And I just cold called the Fairmont, and it so happens that a guy in one of my classes at SF State was working the desk. I mean, how does that happen? And he's got an opening. So he says, I've got an opening, and tell Mr. and Mrs. Kaltenborn they can have it, and in the NBC thing. And I said, okay. So I walked back out there, and I said, I've set it up. Everything's fine. Here's your car, brand new Oldsmobile. Take Mr. and Mrs. Kaltenborn to the Fairmont. And the driver did. And that was it. So I ended my thing. I was going back as a page the next day. Davidson Taylor comes back again and says, I want to talk to you. I said, oh, God, what did I do now? And I go over with him, and he said, Mr. Kaltenborn has asked you to be his assistant for the convention. Now, I was not in the broadcast area. I was a page at the telephone bank. I walked into the broadcast area, into the main studios. Here's Huntley Brinkley sitting there and all the correspondents, and here's H.V. Kaltenborn with his own cubicle, and he goes on both radio and television. And so I worked with him for the convention. At the end of it, he gave me one of the only letters of recommendation he's ever given, and I used that to get my first job at 5,000-watt KYOS in Merced. So there you are.
Oh, my gosh. Well, Van, how long were you number one in the Bay Area on the station that some people call Killing Guts and Orgasm?
Well, it's interesting. And this is not bragging, a little bit maybe. I was number one in everything I did in the Bay Area. I was number one at Channel 5. We killed everybody on the 11 o'clock show at Channel 5, way before Channel 7 at that time was another competitor. Roger Grimsby, as a matter of fact, was on Channel 7.
Good evening. I'm Roger Grimsby. Here's now the news. Yeah.
And I left KPIX number one, went to KFRC, raised the ratings in the morning against Sherwood on KFRC, and at the end of the year, when they didn't come through with what they had told me they were going to come through with, I left KFRC and went freelance. And then I did documentaries and stuff like that, and I ended up on what was the name of the? I can't even remember the KEWB.
Yeah.
Over in Oakland, and we had Radio Free Oakland, and I started a talk show, which went number one. And they had Joe Dolan in the morning. I followed Joe Dolan. They had all this stuff. Anyway, while I'm doing that, ABC comes after me to go to Channel 7, and I go to Channel 7, and I'm reporting while I'm doing my talk show.
Yeah.
And while I'm doing my talk show, I signed a deal with the Raiders to do the broadcast for the Oakland Raiders. So that I'm doing all these things. And I end up in 1969, I decided to leave KEWB, and I go over to Channel 7 full-time, take over the weekends on Channel 7 in 69, and then in 70 I took over the newscast. And within 6 months we were number one. At 11, and then we.
Now, was it you and Jerry Jensen back then, or did you come later?
Jerry Jensen, no, Jerry. Well, when I first went on, it wasn't Jerry Jensen, but then Jerry came into it about 4 or 5 months into it after I'd started it. So, and then they brought in Pete Giddings and John O'Reilly and that. So anyway, that's. Within 6 months we were number one, and then we started fighting to become number one in the early evening. But we didn't have a 6 o'clock show; we had a 4:30 show.
Right.
And that's why Ray Tannehill had walked out and gave me my opportunity to become the anchor. Ray Tannehill was the anchor, but he decided in his mind, and he had gotten a good offer to go home to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is where he was from. And he just one day. I'm sitting at my reporting desk, and he came over and said, "Are you ready to go on?" And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, I'm leaving, and you're the only one who's going to be here when 6 o'clock comes." Because what
just
they were
like that, with no notice?
Absolutely, it was. 6 o'clock was.
I thought that only happened around here.
Yeah, right. No, that's what happened, and so I took over. I don't know if he had talked to management about it or not, but that he was telling me personally that they had said, okay, if you do, I guess, then we'll have to put Van on.
Right.
Van will be on tonight.
In a nutshell, can you tell? I never understood. Why you just were there one day and you were gone the next. And what I recall, it wasn't for lower ratings or anything like that.
No, we were number one.
Radio and television stations don't send someone away when they're on top.
No, they do.
They
do. They do in this day and age. I'll tell you what's interesting. Cap Cities had bought ABC by that time, and Cap Cities wasn't going to keep ABC. They were going to sell off what they could, do all this, and then finally get rid of it. But they had to make the bottom line look good to Wall Street. They were a Wall Street group.
Uh-huh.
And the way to do that is to cut salaries and to cut staff. And then they can make it look good. As you know, Cap Cities then sold to Disney.
Yeah.
They were
Disney sold to Citadel.
Citadel. Yeah. I think Disney still owns the television, don't they?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
I'm not sure.
They sold ABC Radio to Citadel. And my understanding is that whole thing is sort of melting down right now. I mean, But anyhow, whatever.
Yeah, well, that's what happened there. I was just called in and told I still had 6 months to go in my contract, and I was called in and told that I had to take a massive cut in pay, and I could no longer be a factor or force in the newsroom. I was managing editor,
right,
and so I was making a lot of waves because I didn't like the way the news was going. They looked at it and said, well, you've been sued by these people and this, and, we won every lawsuit and all that, but still, that's corporate.
Yeah.
They didn't want it.
Wow.
And so, and I think I was the first one that they totally erased. I mean, it was just like an eraser was taken, and I didn't exist.
I've never seen or heard anything like it before or since. But with your permission, I would like to set up a time that where we can promo it ahead of time. Where I'd like to sit down and do an interview with you, where we can have some caller interaction and so forth. Is that okay? So we're putting you on the spot. Huh?
Yeah, I told you before that I certainly would consider it. What the problem is, I'm not in the state. I'm going a lot of places, and
well, there are things called cell phones.
Yeah, that's true. I just ran over mine. So
right. Okay. Hey, great. Well, I'll be in touch with you on the email. And thanks very much for calling in.
Okay.
Yeah, Van Amberg, appreciate it. And
Thank
we'll
you.
talk to you again. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Wow, goosebumps. Goosebumps. That was 9 years ago, almost to the day. The June 29th, I think, 2008. Wow, the late, great Van Amberg. The follow-up interview never happened. But that was a lot longer than I thought it was, actually. And thank you, Jaunty, for finding that. I wonder how many other great programs are missing from our archives. But Jaunty found it, and that's great. So, wow.
Sounds like he had a hell of a ride.
Oh, man. What a guy. Now, if you check 415 Media, and Rich called at the top of the program today, you can watch the entire last broadcast of Channel 7 News Scene, where you would think that Van Amberg would be all choked up like Johnny Carson was on his last show and so forth, but it's not like that at all. He ended the program very, unemotionally, and you got to watch it. Anyhow, Google 415 Media, and then it'll take you right there, and you can watch. And it'll be for those of you who remember Van Amberg and Channel 7 News Scene on KGO TV. It was just at the top of its game for at least a decade and a half, and then just nothing. And I had forgotten that, it was a big mystery. But Van just told me, and you just heard it, what actually happened and how he was erased. It's amazing, amazing story. Okay, back to our Fred. You weren't living in the area back in the news scene days with Van Amberg, were you?
No, but I mean, they were comparable people all over the country like that. And you just respected and had this booming voice, and you knew they were professional, and you felt comfortable listening to them. And those, the Walter Cronkite groupies, I guess we'll call them, right? Kind of everybody right under Walter. It was a way to keep a community together. People really, really respected these people and looked up to them. Now they're good people working, but they all kind of look the same. They're all kind of have the same happy face, and they're all formalized. Back then, it was straight news, and that made a big difference. And you really took it more seriously when it was straight news.
Right.
I think.
Okay, you're listening to the KSCO Saturday Special. We're in the final 11 minutes thereof. If you want to join the party, call 479-1080 on your phone. You'll need area 831 if you're out of the area. Or you can email mz@ksco.com. We have a caller, Jimmy in Ben Lomond. Jimmy, you're on.
Hi, good morning.
Hey.
I listen to the program quite often. I've listened for now about 3 or 4 years. I'm a disabled vet, and I have a lot of friends that listen also, especially to your Veterans Take Charge radio program.
Oh, that's a great show. Those guys are amazing.
From 4 to 6.
Yeah, on Sunday. On Sunday afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate Georgia, and I like Charles, except for Charles doesn't want to talk about some things, and he's kind of narrow. But what I want to bring up is that you have a model, and you advertise products, and you have that longevity line, and
yes,
you advertise that on your program, and
yes,
it does pretty well, right?
Without that, we wouldn't be here. It's as simple as that.
So then let me go right to the most popular truth teller, Alex Jones. He's started his on products, and he does very well. He runs his programs and his information on his products that he sells on the air, just like you do.
Right.
I think
we turned Alex on to the health supplements.
Right,
Alex is an amazing broadcaster. He's probably the most amazing broadcaster.
Well, it works pretty well, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Okay,
and Alex, he does a very good job of saying, if you like the broadcast, buy the products that you hear about on it because it supports the transmission, right?
Well, he has that little bit of a gruff voice. He's on almost every day, and I don't blame him for having a little gruff voice. But what I do admire him for is he's similar to you, as he'll let other angles and other people with different viewpoints to come on and represent their point.
Sure.
Now, Alex Jones is the only one that sticks to the truth all the time. He has the best post-government top officials, and they come on and they tell the truth, what's going on inside that the regular media has failed to do. Now, if you go on the computer and you find out where people get their information from the computer list, Alex Jones is about number 3.
Oh, he's way up there. He's probably the most popular audio and video personality worldwide on online on the internet today.
Well, then let me ask you this. Why would you ever consider dropping Alex Jones?
I'm happy you asked that question.
That at all. He's the best thing on radio.
Do you want me to answer that question very directly now, and that I'm happy you asked? Okay.
Yes.
We showed Alex how to bring in revenue, non-traditional revenue, to keep his show going and growing. Now he gets the the credit for being himself. He's the main reason that his show goes and grows, right? Because there's no one quite like him.
Absolutely.
We showed him the
Yeah,
way.
that's-
We showed him the principal way to monetize that. Okay.
Well,
Just a minute, Jimmy. I let you
Okay.
talk. Now pipe
I'm
down and let
saying
me
it.
talk, okay?
Just saying, okay, I'm agreeing with you.
Please let me talk. Okay? All right, this is a sore subject with me because the reason we're dropping Alex is because for 3 years, Alex he did something that I would never do to somebody else. He decided to compete with us. He started his own line of nutritional supplements that he promotes and promotes and promotes and promotes and promotes and promotes in his inimitable Alex Jones way. He has every right to do that. But every time, you're not Jimmy and Ben Lomond now. You're MZ, who struggles to keep this operation going. And for the last 3 years, since Alex decided to go in direct competition with us, selling his own line of personal of nutritional supplements, and you're sitting as the owner of KSCO and KOMY and a great fan of Alex's, you're listening to Alex use the stations that you struggle to keep on board, to keep on on the air, to serve the community, the communities, and you hear him competing with us using your own facility. How would you feel? Wouldn't you feel sort of stupid?
No.
Oh,
I wouldn't
okay.
feel,
Okay. Explain. Okay. I'm listening to you now. Now it's your turn to talk.
feel stupid at all. I would be so proud of myself, dude. I would be so proud. I would bring Alex along with you and your attitude at the station to where you're working together and that you're improving people's lives. Plus the fact Alex is giving you all the factual information that a healthy person needs to know. Now, if you go down to those protests on Democratic, against Hillary, I bet they don't take any supplements, and that's why they're in that capacity.
Well, they do turn up their nose. You're right. In fact,
all right. So why don't you be a really strong leader and advertise Alex Jones's products with your own, and then you'll be a happy guy and you'll be telling the truth and doing us a big favor.
Well, I am telling the truth. That's what KSCO is all about.
Jealousy is not a good thing, guys.
Jealousy?
Yes, you're jealous because he's making more money on his products than you are.
No. That doesn't make no.
Well,
I'm happy you're. That's how I'm coming across to you, I guess. Okay.
And you'll come across with everybody else if you cancel Alex over that. Everybody's going to think you're silly, and you're not strong, and you're jealous of the guy. So that's weakness. Don't do that, Michael. Be strong. Stay in there. Hang in, and even if you get more heat, then you should stay here stronger with Alex.
Yeah, we haven't gotten a whole lot of heat. I think the most heat I've gotten about Alex is from Fred lately, who's still there. Are you there, Fred?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. It's happy day. We only talk when we're happy.
Oh, okay, right.
Remember, that's our new slogan.
Yeah, Fred makes a good point, Jimmy. He does.
What's that?
Well, we should try to be positive. Alex is so passionate. He's so passionate, and
go
here,
with him, support him.
Well, we have.
And he's telling the truth, and that's what we need. We don't need opinions. We need these high ex-government officials to tell us what's going on inside the government, and they're doing it for us.
Can I just say one?
Yeah, go ahead, Fred.
Can I just say one thing? It's the second time you said that. If they're former high government officials how do they know what is going on in this administration when people in the administration don't even know what's going on? That's the problem.
Okay, I have an answer.
Isn't talking to the right hand, and you know what? Nobody knows.
Okay, quick answer, Jimmy. Then we want to take Rich and Mary on Capitol before the show is going to end in 2 minutes. Go ahead, quick.
Okay. Okay, most of the people that are still in the White House staff and the congressional offices are still Obama Democrats, and that's why he's
Nobody
having
in the
a
White
problem.
House is an Obama. No.
All right,
Nobody
thank
in the
you
White
very
House
much,
is an
Mr.
Obama.
Michael Zwirling.
Wait a minute. I want you to send me an email, Jimmy. Okay, and I'm serious. Thank you very much for calling and for listening to me.
Thanks,
and
Jimmy. Have a
I'm
good
going
day,
to
man.
I'm gonna think about
Thanks
what
for
you.
serving.
Hey, everybody's talking
All right,
over each other. So who do I pot down?
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right, now wait.
Bye-bye.
Don't go yet. Don't go yet.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Why don't I want you to go yet?
You have a question?
No, I wanted to take down your phone number in case you forget to call me, or email me. Okay, thank you very much. Now you can go. Appreciate the call. That was Jimmy in
All right, great.
in Ben Lomond. Okay, and there he goes. Here's Rich and Salinas. Oh,
Yeah,
wow. I'm so sorry what you're going to tell us here. But go ahead.
Yeah, Joyce Riley, who you know, I'm sure.
Yes.
She's been a guest on our program, too. Yeah, she passed away last Sunday. I got an email from the fellow who's taken over her program, Daniel Brigman.
Mm-hmm.
And so she died sometime Sunday morning.
Yeah, Joyce wasn't in our program lineup, but she was a wonderful woman.
Wonderful lady.
Yeah,
I call her the Alex Jones, the female Alex Jones, if you want to
Yeah.
put her against anybody.
All right.
But she did a lot with health and gardening and good proper foods and always was positive and tried to help people out. I mean, she was a great. And I used to listen to her because she was broadcast on the local Christian station here in Santa.
Yes, that's right.
And 1 to 4 in the morning, so I wouldn't get a lot of sleep sometimes.
Okay. All right, Rich, thanks for calling. Appreciate it. Now, last call of the day, Marion Capitola. You're on.
Hi. Speaking of revered news people, interview 1964-65 with Walter Cronkite. An audience member asked him, Mr. Cronkite, why is the news always so bad? He thought and he asked, well, what is the definition of news? Complete silence in the audience. And he said to them, news is something out of the ordinary. You better be happy the news is bad, because otherwise that means that we live in a horrible world if the news is only good. Okay? Think it through.
Okay, all right.
Think it
Thank
through.
you for calling. A perfect end to the program. Thank you, Fred. Hope to hear more from you. Sure, we will. Thanks for joining us today. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. KSCO Santa Cruz, Salinas, Monterey, San Jose. Here is CBS News in progress.
That apparently got out of hand. I've been able to speak with a woman's brother who says that his sister was shot in the side and the bullet is stuck in her back.
That's KTHAV reporter Winnie Wright, reflecting a culture of violence. The poster for last night's show features a guy pointing an automatic weapon. We are learning more about Henry Bello, the New York doctor who shot up a Bronx hospital, killing one, wounding 6 others before killing himself.
According to numerous reports, Bello had resigned from the hospital in 2015 after just 6 months to avoid charges of sexual harassment.
He said he was going to do this. I didn't hear him say, but talking amongst us, he said it. And he did it.
And the New York Daily News is reporting that just hours before the shooting, Dr. Bello emailed the paper blaming a female doctor at this hospital for his termination. Roxana Saberi for CBS News, New York.
Like his fellow senators, Richard Blumenthal is back in his home state of Connecticut for the 4th of July. And like many, he's speaking out against the Republican health care bill. Like some, he says it only provides financial benefits to the wealthiest of Americans.
What we need is continued protests and rallying the voices and faces of Connecticut and millions of Americans, because the Trump Care 2.0 proposal is as grotesquely cruel and costly as the other proposals have been.
Subject of the president's weekly address, pushing a bill that pushes back against sanctuary for immigrants.
The No Sanctuary for Criminals Act will block federal grants to jurisdictions that shield dangerous criminal aliens from being turned over to federal law enforcement.
Mazda recall, more than 300,000 of them. Here's WWJ's Jeff Gilbert.
The issue was with the parking brakes on 2014 and 15 model year Mazda 6 midsize cars and 14 through 16 Mazda 3 small cars. Corrosion can cause that parking brake to either not fully engage or not fully release. That increases, among other issues, the risk that the vehicle can roll away while parked.
Mick Jagger says the power of the press responsible for helping him avoid prison for a minor drug offense in 1967. Sentenced to 3 months in jail, a Times editorial then said Jagger ought to be treated exactly the same as anyone else. The next day, he says he was released. You're listening to the winner of the Edward R. Murrow Award for Overall Excellence. This is CBS News.
I'm Scott Tannen, founder of Boll & Branch, where you can get the world's most comfortable sheets for less than half of what you'd pay in the store. Our sheets are made from 100% organic cotton and get softer over time. Even 3 U.S. presidents have Boll & Branch sheets. Try them for 30 nights. If you don't love them, send them back for a full refund. Go to bollandbranch.com today for $50 off your first